it's right in the hallway over there.
Okay, because I really got to my table. Your table coming up front right there.
Kate, are we staying? I'm just going to shoot some video. Everybody's already getting geared up. I wonder if we got a picture.
Yeah, we did. Nancy took it.
Good. Thank you, Lola.
Elena right here was responsible on her front for getting our lunches to our tables. Thank you, Elena, very much. And if you have any guests that come late, there are still a few box lunches on the table in the back. Has everyone found the restrooms yet? Okay. There's also an information group in the back. And we invite you to just learn as much as you can about us today. Those of us with green t-shirts on, or some of our volunteers have name tags. They can answer any questions.
Amen.
Thank you, Jessica.
We'll be sure and get them.
Well, I hope you guys are enjoying talking and visiting with each other. There's a lot of new people here I've met today. Once again, I just want to tell you, we're so glad to have you here. I was trying to think the other day, someone asked me, how long have you been at the Pregnancy Center? And I was thinking, I lost track, because after a while, you quit counting years, and I figured out it's about 15 years now that I have been with the Pregnancy Center Ministry. And then I started thinking, how many clients would that be that we have seen? Well, we see probably about 1,500 to 2,000 girls a year. And in 15 years, I have seen thousands and thousands and thousands of girls and young women come to our doors in need of help. But you know, as soon as you can relate to this, every now and then you meet somebody, and you're not quite sure what it is or what that reason is, because it doesn't have to be a groundbreaking moment. But God just imprints them on your heart and in your mind. And you never forget them. You can remember just that brief conversation or what they were wearing or just something small, but you never forget them. It's like an imprint on your heart. And I have probably about 6 specific girls that I have seen in 15 years, 6 of them, that for some reason or another, and I see one of them right now, that God has just imprinted on my heart. And I never forgot them. And our speaker, the young woman that's going to come up and share with you today, she's probably going to say, I'm not so young anymore, but she was when I saw her. And when she came to us, her story wasn't much different than most of the girls that came in. She came to us, she was in a crisis, she was in need, and she desperately needed help, and she needed some answers. And I called in a counselor, and I asked her to come help her out, and Peggy took her to the back and talked with her. And as Peggy came back out, she shared with me, we really need to do something, we need some help. She's got to find a place to stay tonight. And so I thought, okay, we get busy, and the place was full. This is when we were still off of Edgeburg in 45, and it was a little hole-in-the-wall shopping strip. And the waiting room was just full of girls just like her. But as she walked through the waiting room to get ready to leave, I wanted to go and approach her and ask her, do you have everything that you need? Have you been able to get the material? We were making calls and trying to find a place for her to stay. And my eyes met her eyes through the window, and they just locked. And it was at that moment that she just imprinted on my heart and on my soul. And I will never forget her, ever. I never have forgotten her. I can still to this day tell you exactly what she was wearing, what she looked like, and that exact moment that I remember. It was just so brief, but for some reason God just kept her right on my heart. And I remember when I looked at her, and all these years I thought about her off and on, and I remember my thought was, that's the most broken-hearted soul I think I've ever seen. She just looked trapped. She looked afraid, and she looked trapped. And my heart just connected with her. And I've never forgotten that. And it was earlier this year, I came to work one day in my office, and one of the volunteers had set a book on my desk and said, this good woman came by, and she said that she used to be a client here, and she wanted to visit with you, and she wrote this book. And I'm thinking, one of our clients wanted to visit with me and wrote a book. This doesn't make sense, but okay, I'll buy it. And I stuck it in my bag, and for a couple of days I kept thinking, I'm going to look over that book and find out who this is. So one night I sat down in my chair, and I thought, I'm just going to glance over this book and just find out more about this. And open the first page. And when I got out of my chair, I had read every single page to the book and closed the cover. I was captivated by her testimony, by her story, and by what God had done in her life. It was amazing. And it truly, truly blessed me because we don't often get to hear the outcomes of these girls' lives. The time that we share with them is so brief and it's so small. And it's almost like unless they join our programs or they participate in classes, we just get this one moment with them. And we believe that every appointment is a divine appointment for them to come. We truly believe that God has lined up that day, that time, that person to hear what we have to say. But we never get to see what happens once they leave. We don't know if they listen to to our words, if they take into account some of the things that they learn about. We just don't know. And sometimes we say, well, it's okay, because when we get to heaven, there's going to be a huge room full of all these girls that said, yeah, I really thought about it for that night. And we'll get to see it. But it's a great blessing when God brings you one of the clients back, and they tell you, look, this is my son, or this is my daughter. And when I left here, I knew what I was going to do, but later on I thought about it. And her story was so encouraging to me, because I remembered her. And it was amazing to hear what God had done, and I felt so blessed to read that, to see the outcome. Because it does get very discouraging, and you get emotionally drained. And sometimes you just think, are we doing anything to really make a difference? You know, it's the same stories, and they're all heartbreaking, and they're all just sad, they stick with you. But you hear 10 to 12 of these stories every single day. And every one of these girls is a unique individual. And you just sometimes think, why are we doing this? Is it working? No, I just don't know. But if we can just plant a seed and maybe it'll grow. So her story touched me so much when reading her book because it was such a reward to me. And Deanna, you are the reason why we keep doing and keep doing. Because it is outcomes, giving a glance at what God has done, it gives us that strength and that willpower to say we are doing something. Every now and then we get to know and get to find out that all we have to do is plant those seeds. And then God's responsible for the growth when these girls leave. And it has been such a blessing to get to see her, just such a renewing for all of the counselors who's read her story. We've been so encouraged by it. And so I just want to ask you that you please just give a hand to Deanna as she comes up here and shares her testimony with you. And I just pray that it will bless you like it has blessed us.
Her
You know, being here today is being able to be here today with you is an honor. I'm the honored one. And, you know, I look over everyone that's here and then I see the green shirts. And just FYI, how many people actually volunteer and work in the center? Could you stand up, please, because I can't see you because you kind of blended in. You know, no, don't sit. Just one more second. I know I'm supposed to be talking, but put you on the spot. But when I look at you, I just feel honored to be in the presence of people that are so great, that would lay down their lives one day a week, volunteer, you know, and work for less money. You're the reason why I'm here today, and I thank you and I honor you for doing what you do. Thank you. 12 years ago, I was a homeless stripper. I was strung out on drugs, and my life was in a shamble. And one day, I had decided to take 52 pills and a 12-pack of Bud Light, and to just end it all. I remember sitting in a bathtub full of water as the pills started to take effect, and just praying. You know, I was going to pray one last time, you know, and I said, Lord, you know, my life is in a mess, and I feel like I've messed up so much that there's no coming back. And I said, Father, if you still love me, if there's still hope for me, and as I began to pass out, if you could just give me a reason to live for. 2 days I woke up. Some people had found me in the tub, but when drugs are involved, nobody really wants to call the police, so they kind of wait to see what happens. Sometimes you get left behind a trash can. You know, it's just kind of a tossable coin what they're going to do to you. I survived that night, and a couple of days later, I realized there was something weird going on with my body, and I realized that I was pregnant. And so that was my sign that the Lord had given me something to live for. I had lost my car at the time, so I had gotten a ride down to the Pasadena Pregnant Center to just make sure that I was really pregnant at this time. And I was. And I don't remember who I talked to. I don't remember much about being there because this particular time I was very happy. I was going to be a good mom, and everything was going to go right from now on. But I was able to quit drugs for a little while I finished having a baby, and right after I had him, I immediately turned to club. I had to make money for my baby, so I had to go back to work in the club. And so my life just fell apart again. I ended up losing my son at 6 months to CPS, and he was given to my mom. And things got bad again. I had lost my apartment that I had with a friend. I no longer had a place to stay. We were locked out of the apartment. I didn't have a vehicle. And I remember just everything crashing in on me. I was getting rides down to Galveston to work at a club out there. And I was just at that point again, to where I had lost my son. I had nothing else to live for. I remember taking a whole bunch of pills again and deciding to, since the bathtub wasn't big enough, I decided that I would just try the Sea of Galveston. And I just vaguely remember a man pulling me out and just getting me to shelter. About that time, I realized that I was pregnant again. And at this time, I knew, I wasn't ready to lose a baby again to CPS. I knew that I couldn't handle it, so I just decided, okay, well, I'm going to get rid of the baby. My thoughts on the matter was, it's not a baby until it starts moving and kicking. It's just a blob of blood. And so I had talked to somebody that, was able to, talk someone into helping me get the money together to have an abortion. And so that's what I was going to do. I was just so depressed. I couldn't even kill myself right. So, nothing was going right for me. And so I had gotten the money together, or, it was said that I was going to get the money together. So I decided, that night I didn't have a place to stay, so I stayed the night at Taco Cabana down there in Clear Lake. Stayed in, stayed there all night. And so the next day, I went to a payphone, and I was going to call for it. I didn't know where I was going to stay, or, I was going to try to, hitch down to Galveston to work and maybe make enough money for a hotel sometime, or have the money for a hotel, and sometimes I wouldn't. And, but I was certain I had gotten a telephone book from the little stop and go, and went to find the number for an abortion place. I called the number, and there was a ring, ring, ring. Hello, on the other end, Loving Christian Maternity Home. And I'm like, I was like, is this the doctor's office? She was like, no, this is the maternity home. Can I ask you what you're looking for? Or, I was looking for, a place that does abortions. And she asked me, her name was Barbara, and she said, is it for you? And I told her, ended up telling her my whole story. I never really told anybody about the drugs that I was involved with. I just kind of kept that to myself. And they always hinted at it, they wanted to pull it out. And I just kept that to myself. It was enough that they knew I was a stripper. And so the lady on the other end, we ended up talking for a long time. It ended up being a maternity home out in Wichita Falls, Texas. And she talked to me out on that payphone phone for probably an hour, and it was a 1-800 number. And she said, we usually don't do this, but if you can get a ride here, we will hold this bed for you for 2 weeks. And if you need more time, then we'll talk to the board and we'll see what we can do. And so, well, Wichita Falls is 900 miles away. I don't have a car. I don't even have a place to live. So how in the world would I get there? And so I remembered about that little pregnancy center on Edgewood. I was able to get a ride down there, and I really don't, I just, I'm not even sure how I got there, but I got there. And this time was different from the first time that I was there, because there was a woman named Christy that made me watch a video. And it's funny, you know, after that day, I don't remember ever seeing that woman again until today. But I remember her making me watch this video. And at that moment of watching this video, I realized that the thing that was inside me was not a blob of blood. It wasn't just a pregnancy, but it was a live person inside me. It was a baby. And I knew at that moment that, you know, I wouldn't be able to harm this child. You know, I didn't know if I would be able to keep the child, but I knew that I couldn't hurt it because it wasn't just a pregnancy, it was a child, it was a life. And so Christy assigned me a caseworker, and it ended up being Peggy Mouton. And, you know, it's funny, because I've never forgot Peggy, and there's a reason why. I began to tell her my story. I think we sat there almost for a whole afternoon just talking, and you know, and I remember one of the stories she was telling me about just giving me advice on life, and she was just telling me how, I think she was married at the time, and she was telling me that, you know, that she even told her boyfriend that, you know, she wouldn't live with him, you know, because if you live with somebody before you're married, they're probably not going to marry you. And just really good advice that I remember till this day. And, you know, you're talking about 12 years ago. And so I figured if there was a maternity home in Wichita Falls, maybe we could find one closer. And so they looked. I remember driving it out to one maternity home, and I just, you know, it just didn't feel right. And they searched, you know, different places and made phone calls, and a lot of the places, you know, they only took you if you were a teenager. I was already 26. If they didn't take you if you were a teenager, you had to be willing to place your baby up for adoption. I knew what it was like having the first baby and how attached you become to, you know, the child inside of you. I didn't know if I would be able to do that if I went through with it, but I wanted to be able to have the choice. And in Wichita Falls, they gave me the choice. And so I really felt like all hope was lost at that moment. Peggy stayed in touch with me, and at the time, me and my mother wasn't talking because, you know, I could never see where I was wrong with the drugs and everything. I blamed my mom for losing my son, even though it was all me. And Peggy sat down and mediated between me and my mother. And you know, I just never understood that, you know, this woman is taking so much time out from me, you know, just really invested in my life. And she talked to my mother, and I was able to go and stay with my mother, but, you know, my mom said just for a little while, you know, she didn't, you know, I wasn't going to be able to stay there for long just because of the CPS thing. And so Peggy calls me, I think maybe a day later, and says, "Hey, Tyra, I prayed about it. We're going to drive you up to Wichita Falls." I said, "You're going to drive me 900 miles away?" "Yes, I want to hand deliver you." So I want to make sure, because I think they had talked about putting me on the bus and shipping me out there. And she decided that she couldn't do that, that she had to hand deliver me and see these people that, that she was going to give me to. And that was a life-changing event. Someone that didn't know me. I was a drug user, really couldn't be trusted at the time. That she would decide to drive me 900 miles, not stop and brake, but turn all the way around and drive all the way back. 900 miles is 9 hours. So there was 9 hours there and 9 hours back. And that was the last time I saw Peggy Mouton until the night. Peggy, would you please stand up? So anyway, I was up in Wichita Falls, stayed in the maternity home. Wonderful people out there, wonderful, wonderful people. I had the baby, and I had gotten on public housing, so I had, about that time, well, even before we left to go to Wichita Falls, CPS had come back and we realized that you weren't the person that gave the baby away in the bar, because I had let a friend babysit while I was trying to work, and she told some people to watch my baby in a bar and never came back. And so they realized that. They said, you need to take some parenting classes. And so in Wichita Falls, I was able to take my parenting classes up there at the pregnancy center there. And so after I got my place in Wichita Falls, I did slip up. It's one thing, getting over drugs is not always easy, just like if you know somebody that's an alcoholic. I did slip for a while, but then, for a few months, and then I realized that, you know what, I remembered what the pregnancy center had done. And I wasn't about to let my life fall all apart. For the first time in my life, I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to be a good mother. I wanted something to matter in my life. And so I came back home, and when I came back home, I became on fire for God. And I remember one day driving down I-10, I'm praying, and I turned off the radio, and I'm singing, and I'm, Lord, what do you want me to do with my life? I have no, I don't have an education, I don't have any skills, and if you call dancing around a pole as skills, then maybe I had a little bit. What do you want me to do? And that's when I heard a voice within inside me, not audible or anything, just sometimes you just know that you know that you know. The Lord told me to go to school. And so in 2000, I drove off that freeway, drove down to Alvin, Texas. I knew where the school was. And I was like, well, Lord, I don't have any money for school. I didn't know anything about how I even, get into school. And so I walked in and decided to talk to a counselor. Just to make a long story short, I walked out with a full scholarship, for mental health. And so I did start school. I was studying counseling. Ended up getting married a couple of years after I was going to school. Dropped out of school, had a couple more babies. Went back to school, finished in 2007. I was working, and I don't want to tell you too much. You can read it in the book. But I went back to school, graduated in 2007, and I began teaching for Pasadena Independent School District. And so about 2 years ago, pretty much 2 years ago, the Lord had never told me to quit going to school. I decided that, I would continue going until He tells me that's enough. I decided to go back to get my master's, and my graduating class walked last week for a master's in education. I still have too much courses for this summer, but in July I'll be completely done. I'll have a master's in education. And since the Lord still hasn't told me to, quit yet, I've already applied for my doctorate in education. So, but the moral of this whole story is that, you may not ever have somebody come to see you 12 years later to tell you what a difference you made in their life, but know that it happens, and it probably has happened. And, if you think buying a lunch to come see somebody speak that is not making a difference, don't believe that for 1 second. Every single one of you that are here right now, you are making a difference, and you're making your life count for eternity. And not for one moment, don't think that what you do is just too little or, insignificant. But you're not, because it's all part of a big picture. It's all, remember when I called the abortion clinic, I accidentally called a maternity home? Come on, And granted, all the things I went through in my life, and I'm like, Lord, why did I have to go through this? Why did I go through this? Why did I have to choose and make these, bad decisions? I don't know. But I know that God is sovereign. And I know that, I believe what Jeremiah says that, you know, God told him that before he was born, he knew him. He had predestined him, and that he's going to give him a purpose. And I believe that, you know, whether it's working, I work with kids with behavior problems, I'm a behavior specialist now. And I have to believe that even though this little boy wanted to stab me with his pen 3 times this week, that I am working with him for a purpose. And I thank you and I honor all of you for being here today, and I love you. And the best part is that when I had that baby in Wichita Falls, I thought I could never love a baby more than the first one. You always think that, but when I saw this little girl look up at me, my heart was so warmed. And you are the reasons, every single one of you, this is what you've done. This is what you're doing. And I want to introduce to you my baby that you saved. Come here, baby.
Amen. Amen.
And the neatest thing is that we figured out a few years ago that God had blessed this beautiful little girl with a voice to sing, and she's going to sing for you right now.
Amen.
what it meant to have women and friends, I don't even call them friends, they're sisters, that step in and intervene on your behalf and hold you up to keep you from drowning. You know, even when you can't even find the words to pray, you don't have to, because they'll pray them for you. And you don't have to explain that. They know that. They just know that. And it was the point where my girlfriends even came in and basically told my husband, out, go, go. And they did their own, you know, washing the clothes, answering the phone calls, feeding my dogs, take care of my kids. By the way, I just want to say on my behalf, I have 4 daughters. 3 of them are teenage girls. So if you need girlfriends to like run away and just say, can I hide underneath your bed for a little while? They will hide you out. They will hide a body for me actually after this year because we still haven't located my 18-year-old daughter yet. So it's actually a joke. She moved out. I'm still recovering from it, and I'm still having emotional time over the fact that she doesn't want to live with me anymore. But I have learned that don't be afraid when you really need your friends. Don't hide it. Don't keep it in. You'll find out who your true friends are when you're really, really in trouble. Don't stay in your home and try to put the fire out yourself. Run outside the door and scream, fire, fire. Let your friends come in and help you. Don't be afraid to do that. This year, my girlfriends truly saved my life. And it wasn't always with words. Sometimes it's just, like she said, a note. I can't tell you how many times that I came to work at the pregnancy center because, you know, life does go on. And just because you're having a crisis, the world doesn't stop for you. It might give you 2 minutes, and then they want to know, you know, when's the next meeting and when's the next speaking engagement. Sometimes I'll come to work and there will just be a note in my chair that just said, praying for you. There are times that you don't even want to talk about it, but you just need to know people are there for you. And I really, truly learned the gift, the true gift of having girlfriends in your life, your sisters that will step in. And so if you do not have that, be one to somebody else. You may not have those women or those special type relationships, but you know, you can definitely be one. And I do encourage you from someone who has been there. It meant everything. It meant everything when I didn't even have to speak because they would speak on behalf of me. And it's because of them. It's because of them that I'm able to speak for school today. And so I just want to encourage you with that. I just want to say that, you know, I love my girlfriends. I don't know what I would do without them. But we have been praying, many of you in here have been praying for a young girl for about the past year. And some of you that know her really well have probably been praying longer than that for her. And we just wanted to take some time this morning, this afternoon, we're closing, and ask her to share her story with us. We were trying to figure out exactly what to say and how to share it and just give her the honor that she deserved. And I think the best way to do that is to let her tell her story herself. And I want you to all know that just as Deanna shared with you, everything that you do and everything that you give and every amount of time and prayer that you provide goes into these young women. And it is because of you and because of the love and the support and the prayers that this young girl knew what to do when a crisis hit her life. And I just thought about asking her to come up here and share, and I didn't know how she would feel about that, but she wanted to come and share her story with you, just real briefly. She's just going to read something that she wrote, and then we're going to have Heather Lambert from Hill Point come up here and close us in prayer. And if you'll stay right after that, we'll finish these door prize drawings, and you'll be able to visit with one another and check out the tables. But I just want to thank you again. I want to thank the women that are here today that are praying for me and, you know, and we're stepping in. And for my friends that didn't do anything but just sent me an email that said, you know, I'm still here. So ladies, thank you very much. Kendall, would you come up?
abortion was pretty much out of the question. I was raised in a Christian home and knew God had a plan for every life. My parents told me that they would always love and support me emotionally, but they were not going to raise my baby for me, nor financially support me as a teen mom. So I had to think of my options. It was either parenting my baby or placing my baby for adoption. If I chose to parent my baby, I would have to think about the things like how I would get my baby to doctor's appointments, who would watch the baby during the day while I went to school, and during the night when I went to work. How much money would I get? How much money would I have to make to afford diapers, formulas, and a babysitter to take care of? It was a lot to consider, and I realized that I would barely even see him at all if I did choose to raise him. My schedule included going to school at 7 a.m., getting out of school at 3 p.m., and then going from school straight to work, and likely not getting home till it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Even if I did decide to raise him, I would not be parenting him because I would not be around enough. He would be raised by daycare and babysitters, and I realized that is not what I envisioned in being a mother. So I looked into adoption to see if I could find the answers. The deeper I dug, the more I learned that adoption is not like what it's put off to be. You do get to see your child, you do get to pick the family to adopt your baby, and you do get updates on how he or she is doing on a regular basis, along with pictures and letters. I knew I wanted my son to get everything he could ever dream of and more. I wanted him to have a mommy who could stay home with him during the day and not be raised 8 hours a day in daycare that I couldn't even pay for. Even more, I wanted him to have a daddy who would always love him, support him, and be there for him, take him fishing and teach him sports. I felt strongly about the importance of my little boy having a dad in his life. I couldn't provide my son a daddy. Those were just some things I could not provide for him. I wanted him to have the very, very best, and he deserved the very best. So after looking through many profiles of families looking to adopt, I prayed that God would lead me to the perfect one that he had chose. At last I found it, the perfect family. They were young. They were a young family that had 2 little girls who were just waiting for a new baby brother. They were soon contacted and told that I chose them to adopt my son. They were filled with joy. I met the family twice before he was born, and I felt that I had known them forever. We got to know each other and shared pictures and stories about our life. If a baby didn't need anything to survive on a mother's love, I would have been the very best mom in the world. I knew I could always love him, but that wasn't reality. Reality was that I couldn't raise my baby on my own, because babies cannot survive on love alone. My beautiful baby boy Isaac was born April 13th of 2010. He was 8 pounds, 3 ounces. I made the difficult but right decision to place him in the arms of his forever family when he was 2 days old. It was because of the amount of love that I had for him and God's will for me that I gave him life on April 13th. And just days later, gave my son life again, a second time, when I placed him into the arms of his adoptive family to take care of him. I gave him a chance to have everything he could ever dream of and more, and that's unconditional love.